Hi there, I'm LaCrisha Brown, an actor and poet with Poetry Out Loud, and I'm here just to offer you some tips when reciting your poem. So, you have done all of your prep work, you've picked a poem, I hope so, and you read it like what, 1,000 times over and over, and now you know it by heart perfectly. So now we're ready to perform. Here are 5 things to keep in mind when you are reciting for your Poetry Out Loud competition. Number 1, be present. Okay, so we all know that when we're reciting a poem, we shouldn't stare at the floor. But in reality, we all get nervous. Even I get nervous. I get nervous every time I perform. So the goal here is to relax yourself, relax your body. Certain things that I do to relax my body are I'll inhale deeply and I'll exhale deeply as well. So we'll inhale for 6. Exhale. I already feel so much better. Another thing that you can try is fluttering your lips with sound and releasing that sound also with your body. Moving your body is important because the energy gets trapped up in our arms and our necks and all of that. So it'll go like this. Oh, and then from here, you can shake it out. Don't be afraid to look silly. It's not about anybody else. It's about you and your performance. You can roll out your neck. Whatever it is that you need to do for yourself to feel comfortable in your body and to be present, right? Why is presence important? It's important to command your space on stage, or as I like to put it, hold your space. Because if you don't hold your space, nobody's going to want to pay attention, right? So, relax your body. Here is an example of not relaxing your body or not being comfortable in it before you perform. Robert Frost's Mending Wall. Something there is that doesn't love a wall that sends the frozen ground swell under it. So now I'll try those lines. Relaxed with a tall and upright presence, but not wooden, and with a confident gaze. Mending Wall by Robert Frost. Something there is that doesn't love a wall, that sends the frozen ground swell under it. So, even if you know your poem perfectly, it won't matter if no one can hear it, right? So, the second thing to keep in mind is good articulation. You want to consider pacing. Are you speaking too fast because of your nerves? Or are you speaking too slowly to create this false sense of drama? Why is pacing important? It helps lead your audience through your poem in a way where they can understand what you're saying and they can catch all of the yummy nuances. Okay, so let's look at the first lines again. Here's an example of lines that are delivered too fast and too muddled. Something there is that doesn't love a wall, that sends the frozen ground swell under it and spills the upper boulders in the sun and makes gaps even two can pass abreast. Sounded kind of cool, but not sure you actually heard what I was saying. So now here's an example of those same lines. Slowed down, just present and spoken in a natural way, all right? Something there is that doesn't love a wall and sends the frozen ground swell under it and spills the upper boulders in the sun and makes gaps even two can pass abreast. So let's take the first lines again, and here I will demonstrate saying it too fast or too muddled, right? So I'm not going to open my mouth in a way where it's articulate. Something there is that doesn't level wall, that sends the frozen ground swell under it and spills the upper boulders in the sun and makes gaps even two can pass abreast. You don't want that. Now, I will demonstrate opening my mouth, using my articulators, the tip of the tongue, the roof of the mouth, being present and taking my natural time, all right? Something there is that doesn't love a wall, that sends the frozen ground swell under it and spills the upper boulders in the sun and makes gaps even two can pass abreast. Most of the poem Mending Wall has its own rhythm. You will be tempted to possibly recite it in a sing-song manner. Do not do this because it's going to distract the audience from the actual words, and they'll be paying attention to just the way your voice is going up and down, right? So here I'll demonstrate a sing-song manner. And spills the upper boulders in the sun and makes gaps even two can pass abreast. Were you paying attention to the words or just how it was bouncing up and down like this? We don't want to do that. We want the audience to actually hear the words. What words are you emphasizing? You don't have to yell in order to project your voice or to emphasize something. And that's really important. You don't have to yell to project. Even as an actor, when directors tell me, project your voice, make sure the audience can hear you all the way on the back row, sometimes I naturally interpret that as I need to turn up my volume. What we're talking about here is more of emphasizing specific words in order to express what you're trying to say, right? So I'll give you an example of over projecting. And spills the upper boulders in the sun and makes gaps even two can pass abreast. It's too loud. Not necessary. Not to hear what you're saying. So here's an example now of more of a balance between projecting and emphasizing. And spills the upper boulders in the sun and makes gaps even two can pass abreast. Now, it's easy to get carried away and maybe overemphasize your poem. You don't want to overact. You don't want to overemphasize anything, and that includes like too many wild animated gestures, maybe really bright facial expressions, or even putting on a character voice. Why do we want to avoid overemphasizing something or overacting? It's because then the audience is just going to be paying attention to you and your acting versus what you're saying, once again, and the storytelling, right? So here's an example of overacting. He only says, good fences make good neighbors. Spring is mischief in me, and I wonder if I can put a notion in his head. Why do they make good neighbors? Isn't it where there are cows? But there are no cows here. Before I built a wall, I'd ask to know what I was walling in or walling out, and to whom I was like to give offense. Too much. So now, let's try it. Don't overdo it, okay? Let's try it in a more natural way, And I'm not saying no gestures and no emphasis, but in a more natural way. He only says, good fences make good neighbors. Spring is mischief in me, and I wonder if I can put a notion in his head. Why do they make good neighbors? Isn't it where cows are? But there are no cows here. Before I built a wall, I'd ask to know what I was walling in or walling out, and to whom I was like to give offense. So when your poem introduces a character, you don't have to give it a character voice. Good fences make good neighbors. That's distracting. We have to trust that the words of our poem are powerful enough to deliver their own messages by themselves without any added gestures or character voices or animation, any extra animation in your face. Let it just be. He only says, good fences make good neighbors. Spring is mischief in me, and I wonder if I could put a notion in his head. Why do they make good neighbors? Isn't it where there are cows? But here there are no cows. Before I built a wall, I'd ask to know what I was walling in or walling out, and to whom I was like to give offense. Another thing to keep in mind, which is really crucial, is to know your poem. And when I say know your poem, I don't mean just memorizing it. I mean actually spending time with it and studying it and understanding what you're saying, why you're saying it, who's saying it. The only way that the audience is going to truly understand the words of the poem is if you're able to infuse it with your own understanding of what you're saying, right? So that includes the way you express it, your tonal shifts, the places where you decide to take a pause, your intention. What is the intention behind the words? So that's what I mean when I say know your poem inside and out. It should be a part of you and your understanding, right? For instance, there is a tonal shift in the speaker's response to his neighbor. I'll demonstrate. He only says, good fences make good neighbors. Spring is mischief in me, and I wonder if I can put a notion in his head. Why do they make good neighbors? The last thing to keep in mind doing your poetry out loud recitation is to relax, have fun, and be natural. Have fun. Because listen, I understand poetry is very complex, and standing in front of an audience with judges and all of that can be very unnerving. But the reason why you're here is because you actually might enjoy doing this, maybe even to the point where you love it. So here is a chance for you to take your stage, have fun, just expressing what you would like to with the words that you have, right? It's about you. It's not about the audience. It's not about the judges. It's about you and your moment. So take it, enjoy it, and have fun. So let's recap the 5 things to keep in mind. Number 1, be present. 2, good articulation. 3, don't overdo it. 4, know your poem. And 5, relax, be natural, and just have fun. Okay? I think you're ready. Go knock it out the park. I won't be here waiting for you afterwards to tell you congratulations, but know that I'm with you. Bye.